Welcome to the Airbnb Superhost Secrets podcast, where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming a top-rated host. Today, we're cracking open a question that I know keeps many Airbnb hosts up at night.
Right.
What do you stock in your fridge for guests? I mean, is it bare bones?
Right.
Or a fully loaded welcome wagon?
You know what's funny? What's fascinating is how this seemingly simple question
Right.
reveals a host's entire philosophy. It's like a mini personality test.
Oh, okay. Let's unpack this.
Sure.
What are some of the trends you're seeing out there among successful hosts?
Well, you have two main camps emerging. On one side, you've got the minimalists, the essentials only folks who believe the fridge is purely functional.
Yeah.
Then on the other side, you've got the hosts who believe a well-stocked fridge is key to a five-star experience. It's all about creating that wow factor right from the start.
So it's kind of like choosing between a basic motel room and a luxury suite.
Exactly. And there are compelling arguments for both approaches.
All right, I'm intrigued. Let's start with the more is more side.
Okay.
We found this host,
Yeah.
Rob,
Okay.
who takes the stocked fridge to the extreme.
Wow.
We're talking a full-on welcome spread here.
Rob's approach is a great example of how a stocked fridge can be a powerful tool for creating a memorable guest experience.
Yeah.
He goes above and beyond with a cheese plate,
Okay.
breakfast items,
Wow.
snacks, drinks, and even a bottle of wine. Talk about a warm welcome.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
But doesn't that get expensive?
Yeah.
I mean, how does he make the numbers work?
That's where Rob's business savvy shines.
Okay.
He's incredibly resourceful. He finds deals, buys in bulk when it makes sense,
Yeah.
and utilizes everything to minimize waste.
Right.
He even factors the cost of the welcome spread into his pricing strategy.
So it's not just about being generous.
Right.
It's about strategic planning.
Absolutely. He understands that while some guests might not touch the welcome spread,
Yeah.
others will appreciate it immensely. And that positive experience translates into positive reviews and repeat bookings.
This ties into a larger point about running a successful Airbnb, doesn't it? It's not just about creating a nice space.
Yeah,
It's about understanding the business side of things.
precisely. Rob is incredibly meticulous about tracking his expenses.
Okay.
He uses spreadsheets to analyze his profit and loss,
Uh-huh.
guest costs,
Mhm.
and even factors in things like taxes. This granular approach
Yeah.
allows him to see exactly where his money is going
Okay.
and make informed decisions about his pricing.
So he's not just guessing. He's making data-driven decisions.
Right. And this is something that a lot of hosts might overlook. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of hosting and
Yeah.
forget about the financial aspect. But Rob's approach shows how important it is to treat your Airbnb like a business if you want to be successful in the long run.
Okay, so we've got this super host who goes all out with the fridge goodies.
Right.
But what about the other end of the spectrum? What are the arguments for a more minimalist approach?
Well, a sparsely stocked fridge can make a lot of sense depending on your location,
Yeah.
your target audience. If your property is in a bustling city center with shops and restaurants just steps away,
Okay.
guests might not need or even want a fully stocked fridge.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the heart of a culinary destination, why would you stay in and cook?
Exactly. In those cases,
Yeah.
providing basic essentials like bottled water, maybe some coffee and tea might be all you need.
Right.
It signals to the guest that you've thought of their needs without going overboard.
So it's about being strategic and tailoring your approach to your specific circumstances.
Yes. And it's important to consider your ideal guest. If you're targeting budget-conscious travelers, a fully stocked fridge might not align with their expectations or your pricing strategy.
Right. It's all about finding that sweet spot between offering value and managing your costs effectively.
Exactly.
I'm curious to hear what other experienced hosts are doing.
Absolutely. We spoke to a few other hosts who have some interesting perspectives on the fridge dilemma.
Let's dive into those insights.
Okay, welcome back to the Airbnb Superhost Secrets podcast, where we're unpacking the fridge dilemma.
You know, as we've been talking about these different approaches, something's really struck me.
Okay.
It's not just about what's in the fridge. It's about the message you're sending to your guests.
That's a fantastic observation. The fridge becomes a symbol of your hosting style. It's like a little welcome note, but edible.
Exactly. If you walk into an Airbnb and the fridge is totally bare, you might get the feeling that the host is hands-off, maybe even a little impersonal.
Right.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if the fridge is packed with goodies, it can make you feel instantly pampered, like you're staying at a luxury hotel.
And isn't that sense of being cared for what really elevates an Airbnb stay?
Right.
It's what separates it from just booking a generic hotel room.
Absolutely. Those little touches like finding fresh fruit and local treats in the fridge can create a lasting impression and make guests feel truly welcomed.
And those happy guests are more likely to leave glowing reviews, right?
Yes.
Which, as we know, are gold for any Airbnb host.
Reviews are the lifeblood of the platform. They build trust and attract new bookings. So investing in a well-stocked fridge can actually be a smart business move.
But of course, we need to balance that generosity with the practicalities of running a profitable Airbnb. That's where understanding your costs comes in, like we talked about with Rob's meticulous spreadsheet system.
Rob's approach is a great example of how to take the emotion out of pricing decisions. He's not just guessing or going with his gut feeling. He's analyzing his numbers, understanding his margins, and setting prices that ensure he's making a profit.
It's like he's running a mini hotel chain, but from his own home.
Exactly. And this level of financial awareness is what separates the casual hosts from the true super hosts.
Yeah.
They're not just providing a nice space, they're running a successful business.
So for our listeners who might be thinking spreadsheets, that sounds boring.
Right.
What's a simple takeaway they can apply to their own pricing strategy?
A great starting point is to calculate your actual cost per guest night.
Okay.
Factor in everything: cleaning fees, utilities, amenities,
Right.
even the cost of those welcome treats. Once you know your true cost, you can set your prices strategically to ensure you're not losing money.
That's a really actionable tip. And it doesn't require a PhD in accounting.
Not at all. There are even apps and software that can help you track expenses and manage your Airbnb finances. The key is to be proactive and informed, rather than just setting prices based on what your neighbors are doing.
Now, speaking of neighbors' location is another key factor to consider.
Yes.
When deciding what to stock in your fridge, right?
Absolutely. Remember Susan's insights about tailoring your approach based on location and arrival time? If your Airbnb is in a rural area with limited access to shops, a well-stocked fridge becomes even more important. It could be the difference between a happy guest and a hangry one.
Right. If your guests are arriving late at night and there's nowhere nearby to grab a snack, that bare fridge is suddenly going to feel like a major oversight.
Exactly. But if you're in a bustling city with a convenience store on every corner, a simple selection of beverages might be all you need.
It's all about understanding your audience and anticipating their needs.
Now let's talk about a topic that often comes up: welcome gifts.
Okay.
Is it essential to provide them? And if so, what are some thoughtful ideas?
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because I think this is where hosts can really inject some personality into the experience.
Welcome gifts are a fantastic way to add a personal touch and showcase your local area. Remember Hylie's tiered approach?
Yes.
Basic condiments for all, a small treat for everyone, and then something special for those high-paying guests or those celebrating special occasions.
I really like that approach. It allows you to be generous without going overboard on every booking.
Exactly. And the type of welcome gift can really vary depending on your location and your target audience.
Okay, let's brainstorm some ideas. Say I'm hosting a family with young children in a beach town.
Okay.
What kind of welcome gift might make them feel special?
Well, you could create a fun, beach-themed basket filled with snacks, sunscreen, maybe a sand bucket and shovel for the kids.
Ooh, I love that.
Oh.
It's practical, but also playful and memorable.
And if you're hosting a couple on a romantic getaway in a wine region, you could put together a basket with a bottle of local wine, some gourmet cheese, and maybe a guidebook to nearby vineyards.
That sounds so romantic. Okay, last scenario. I'm hosting a group of friends in a city known for its craft breweries.
Oh.
What would you recommend?
A selection of local craft beers, some salty snacks, and maybe a map highlighting nearby breweries would be a perfect welcome gift.
You're really good at this.
Yeah.
It's like you've been inside my brain planning my future Airbnb welcome gifts. But seriously, these examples highlight the power of personalization.
It's about going that extra mile to make your guests feel special and show them that you've put thought into their stay.
And those thoughtful gestures can make all the difference in turning a good review into a great one. But of course, we need to be mindful of allergies and dietary restrictions.
Absolutely. It's always a good idea to communicate with your guest beforehand and ask about any specific needs or preferences they might have.
Right.
This can help you tailor your welcome gifts accordingly.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember about creating a memorable guest experience?
It's all about being intentional. Put yourself in your guest's shoes. What would make you feel welcomed and appreciated?
Okay.
What would make you want to leave a glowing review and recommend this Airbnb to your friends?
And don't be afraid to get creative. Have fun with it.
Exactly. Let your personality shine through and your guests will feel the difference. And remember, a well-stocked fridge is just one piece of the puzzle. It's about creating a holistic experience that goes above and beyond expectations.
All right, so we've talked about the importance of cost analysis,
Right.
location considerations, welcome gifts, and personalization. But what are some specific actionable steps our listeners can take to implement these ideas? We'll be diving into that in the final part of our deep dive. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Airbnb Superhost Secrets Podcast. We've been dissecting the fridge dilemma, exploring everything from bare-bones basics to those over-the-top welcome spreads.
Right.
But let's get down to brass tacks here.
Yeah.
What are some concrete steps our listeners can take to create a fridge stocking strategy that works for them?
Well, first things first.
Yeah.
You need to define your ideal guest. Who are you trying to attract? What are their needs and expectations?
Right.
Are they budget-conscious travelers looking for a simple place to crash? Or are they seeking a luxurious experience?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
If you're targeting families with young children, your fridge strategy is going to be very different than if you're catering to business travelers.
Exactly. Once you have a clear picture of your target guest, you can start tailoring your approach.
Okay, so let's say I'm targeting couples on romantic getaways.
Okay.
What kind of fridge strategy would you recommend?
Well, you might want to focus on creating a sense of indulgence and romance.
Okay.
Think a bottle of sparkling wine or local craft beer, some gourmet cheese,
Okay.
artisanal chocolates,
Yeah.
maybe even fresh flowers.
Ooh, that sounds lovely. And it aligns perfectly with the expectations of a romantic getaway.
Right. It's about creating an ambiance and setting the mood.
And what about those budget-conscious travelers? How do you balance hospitality with keeping costs in check?
That's where those basic essentials come in.
Okay.
Bottled water,
Yeah.
coffee,
These are
tea,
great.
maybe some milk for their morning cereal. It's a thoughtful gesture that doesn't break the bank.
And remember, even small touches can make a big impact. A handwritten welcome note or a bowl of fresh fruit can go a long way in making guests feel appreciated.
Absolutely. It's those little details that show you care.
So we've talked about targeting your ideal guest. What's the next step in crafting a winning fridge strategy?
Next, consider your location.
Okay.
Are there shops and restaurants within walking distance, or is your property more secluded? This will help you determine how essential a stocked fridge is for your guests.
Right. If you're in a remote area with limited access to groceries, a well-stocked fridge could be a real lifesaver.
And even if you're in a bustling city, you might want to consider stocking some essentials for those late-night arrivals.
It's all about anticipating those guest needs and going the extra mile.
Now let's talk about budget. How can hosts stock their fridges without breaking the bank?
This is a big concern for a lot of hosts, especially those who are just starting out.
Remember Rob's approach?
Yeah.
He's a master of resourcefulness.
Right.
He finds deals, buys in bulk when it makes sense,
Right.
and utilizes everything to minimize waste.
And he factors the cost of those welcome treats into his pricing strategy.
Exactly. You don't have to offer a gourmet spread to every guest, but even small gestures can make a big impact. A few locally sourced snacks, a handwritten note, or a personalized recommendation for a nearby restaurant can show your guests you care without costing a fortune.
And don't forget about those freebies. Many local businesses are happy to partner with Airbnb hosts and provide complimentary items like coffee, tea,
Yeah.
or even small souvenirs.
It's all about thinking creatively and leveraging those local connections.
So we've covered targeting your ideal guest, considering your location, and setting a budget.
Yeah.
What's the final piece of the puzzle?
The final piece is personalization. Take the time to communicate with your guests before their arrival. Ask about any dietary restrictions or allergies they might have. Inquire about their interests and preferences. This information will allow you to create a truly tailored experience.
So it's not just about filling the fridge, it's about filling a need.
Exactly. It's about showing your guests that you've put thought and effort into their stay.
And remember, those personalized touches don't have to be expensive. A handwritten welcome note,
Right.
a recommendation for a local hiking trail, or a book they might enjoy can make all the difference.
It's about creating a sense of connection and making your guests feel like they're more than just a transaction.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the fridge dilemma, What's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
The key takeaway is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach. The best fridge stocking strategy is one that is tailored to your ideal guest, your location, your budget, and your personal style as a host.
And remember, it's not just about the food. It's about creating a welcoming and memorable experience for your guests. It's about those small gestures that show you care and make them feel truly valued.
So go out there, experiment, get creative, and have fun with it. Happy hosting, everyone.
And happy fridge stocking. We'll see you in the next deep dive.